So, Freddie, this is an often confused point about the Dhamma. Uh, that in fact, the society that we were raised in promotes us asking questions, getting data. In fact, we get hungry for knowledge. And that the actual teachings of the Buddha, there's not much knowledge to it, except that then people will ask the question well, why is there an entire bookcase full of books that are called the Tripitaka? And the answer to that is because there was two possibilities. The main probability is that people over the centuries were confused and wanted to write things down to gain clarity. And that includes also doing translations out of the suttas in Pali into whatever native language that they speak, giving rise to literally dozens of people doing dozens of bits and pieces of translations. But you can look in the Abhidhamma and other literature like commentaries and whatnot like that, was that people made that stuff up. And the question would be, did they make it up out of knowledge? In other words, they had something to contribute. Perhaps they were arahats already, and they had some clarity to add. Or were they writing out of confusion, trying to get clarity themselves? And I would suggest that probably it's about 99% to 1%. 99% of all the writings in Buddhism have been people trying to gain clarity, and only 1% of the stuff that's actually clear enough. That in fact, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa was trained in Thailand to be in love with not just the Tripitaka, but other things like commentaries, Visuddhimagga, Visuddhi Panbidimagga, something like that, Abhidhamma, and all of that. But in his old age, he got to the point of saying that the Visuddhimagga and the Abhidhamma, those things can be thrown into the ocean. Over here in the West, we burn books. In Thailand, they just throw them to the fish. And that Buddhism would be better off without that stuff. All right? So there's actually very little that we need to know. That's the first point. The second point is that questioning and doubting and research and all of that kind of stuff actually is a hindrance to us practicing correctly. That we really don't need to know very much. But what we do need to know is small and needs to be repeated over and over and over and over again. It's sort of like this. Every musician has what they call a repertoire. And very, very few musicians get a giant repertoire. Most of them, well, let us say the repertoire will be like under 100, maybe 200 pieces at maximum. I'd say a repertoire of 200 would be like a piano player that works at a bar pianist, where he takes requests. And normally the requests are songs that have been done in the past several years, and so he kind of keeps up to date and kind of forgets about the old stuff, but maybe, okay? But a concert pianist is going to have a small repertoire, mostly of piano concertos and things that are going to be played with an orchestra, you know. And I can name a whole bunch of them. You know, there's like 4 main violin concertos: the Brahms, the Mendelssohn, the Beethoven, and the Tchaikovsky. And if you can play just those 4 pieces, You can make a whole career out of that. All right? So, in that regard, we still lust for knowledge. And people read and read and read and read. In fact, in politics, they pride themselves on how many books that people read, thinking that that makes them smarter, and it actually just makes them full of
shit.
well, let us say unuseful knowledge.
Mm.
That in fact, while we're gaining the knowledge, we're often in a state of desire, wanting more and more, looking for something, etc., like that. And so what we can do is change our entire frame of reference into doing it like a really high quality musician that keeps his repertoire small but keeps it excellent. Now, this actually happens at the moment when we're actually sitting and practicing the Dhamma. Oftentimes, questions will come up. Well, those questions and the doubts are called actually hindrances. And the questioning means that we're in a state of confusion. And what we can do instead is, aha, I see that my mind is in confusion. I'm wanting something. Let me just relax instead, because in fact, I probably don't actually need that data.
Yeah, it's good enough.
That what we have is good enough.
There are times when it's much harder to say that, you know, on a very cloudy day.
So
But
going to your issue about YouTube, the point that I had come to with it years ago was about let us say when Trump got into politics and got into office, the entire media industry, and especially on YouTube, changed its frame of reference. Now it seems like that all news channels are like 90% Donald Trump, which means that it's gotten kind of boring. There's nothing much there that you can check every day and find out that, yeah, it's just the same old stuff, the same old stuff, the same old stuff. And with that idea, that means then that we really don't need to watch YouTube very much because it's so repetitive that you can see CNN and Fox and MSNBC and NBC and whatever the more smaller networks are. They just are talking about the same thing over and over and over again. The same thing is true about cowboy movies. I really used to love cowboy movies. That was partly because when cowboy movies really were popular back in the early 1950s, when that was about the only genre that was done, with Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and the Cisco Kid and let us say Zorro and just all of those things, right? And to now they've got some more modern ones like 310 to Yuma and some redos of the John Wayne movies, right? Now I've gotten to the point of if a movie gets started, I probably will lose interest in it because what's the point? The point of the movie would be the action and the build up to the action. Well, who needs any of the build up? That I'm especially that way when it comes to the love scenes. It's like, well, let me fast forward through that stuff. Who needs to watch somebody else trying to have fun? And I wind up then not spending a lot of time on YouTube or watching movies or anything like that. That when I was doing a lot of downloading of movies, what I would be interested in is this file good? Is it good in the beginning, somewhere in
Yeah.
the middle, and at the end? Is it choppy? Is it bad? Can you see it? Is it good audio, etc., like that? And that was the only thing that I cared about. Now that I'm not doing that anymore, I don't have much to do with any of that kind of entertainment stuff. I also don't read a lot.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
the reason for it is because I've kind of in my old age gotten over that thirst and that lust for entertainment and search for knowledge. And this is what Anapanasati will do for you. It'll put you in a state of satisfaction so that you don't need all of that entertainment stuff. That what's happening right here in the present moment is good enough. An example of that is we've got a couple of new puppies here at the house. And playing with the puppies, that's good enough.
You don't find that music or something like a wholesome thing, a wholesome film can ever tempt you, or like, do you ever find yourself thinking this would enrich me
Well,
or
the
nourish me?
first thought, when you asked that question, the first thought that came to mind was kung fu movies with,
Yeah.
what was his name? The
Bruce Lee?
first one. Pardon?
Bruce Lee, or was it
Yeah,
someone?
there was Bruce Lee, and then there was a guy who did a lot of comedy that was a lot of action, where
Oh,
he would have a rope and he would be walking by a bus that was going down the road.
ah. Eh. Yeah, I know who you mean.
Okay, so those kind of things are fun to watch, but one thing that's for sure, and that is that all of that martial arts stuff is not martial arts at all. That in fact it's contrived. It's sort of like a boxing match where people want to go 15 rounds and somebody just gets knocked out in the first round. Well, that's real martial arts. You want to hit somebody one time good enough so you don't have to hit him anymore, which means all the movies would be really, really short.
Mm.
Why watch Bruce Lee going through? There's, I think, something about the dragon. In comes the dragon, or whatever, and he's got to go up to the highest point in this building, and every floor has a different martial artist, and he spends 15 minutes fighting that guy, and then he climbs upstairs, half beleaguered as he gets there, and then he fights another 15 or 20 minutes, and all of those things are really contrived. That
Mm.
in fact, half the time, if those blows were really delivered correctly, there would be not much movie. That in fact, this happened with Sylvester Stallone. There was one of the movies that he made on Rocky. He had a big Russian dude, and it showed the Russian with all the fancy equipment while Sylvester Stallone was hauling logs through the snow and whatever like that to do his training. Well, I just saw a recent thing on it. Is that when they were practicing, that Russian actor or whoever it was that did that hit him and put him into the hospital for 6 weeks. Where's your movie there? They had to wait until he was healed so that they could finish the movie of showing that they were fighting.
Mm.
All right. That's what the movies are really all about. That's a very interesting point that if you hit somebody, then it's over if you know how to hit them. That in fact the martial arts that you see on the videos that are the shorts is that because he throws that guy down, he lands on both knees right on the guy's chest, and then he takes him right out, and it's over. Well, why isn't our knowledge like that? Why isn't it that we get the answer to the question and then we stop thirsting for more knowledge? But oh
Yeah.
no, we keep looking and looking and looking over and over and over again because we're in the habit of looking for stuff.
Yeah.
When are we ever going to become satisfied with our search for knowledge? When are you ever going to know enough to have a happy life?
So it's like not being so skeptical. Skepticism.
Mm-hmm. Or there's another way of looking at it. This is actually the phrase comes from a situation that happened. And that was that there was a Westerner, a Farang in Bangkok, who owned a bar. And he was getting hassled by the police for bribes. And so he bought a great big, brand new, had it delivered, a big motorcycle, probably a Harley Davidson Hog, something like that. And next month, the police come back to the bar to get more bribes. And he says, but I gave you a great big Harley Hog. And he says, yeah, but what have you done for me lately? Okay. That's the whole mentality that we get into. Is that that it's not ever enough, or if it's enough for a little while, but now we want more and more and more. We're not ever satisfied. So this is actually the practice of anapanasati, is to get yourself into a state of satisfaction where you've got enough.
Yeah. But I don't have to kind of go to the extreme, you know, of that.
Well, how far are you going to be in the extreme? And this is, by the way, an important point, because the Buddha's path is the middle path.
Yeah.
That in fact there is a sutta called the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya that is generally known and accepted to be the very first sutta that the Buddha taught. That actually is more coming out of the commentaries, but it's generally accepted. And in this sutta, the Buddha talks about the Four Noble Truths as the topic. That was what he introduced his whole shtick with. Except that before he did that, as an introduction, he talked about the middle path. That really, the middle way or the middle path is really the teaching of the Buddha. And the dukkha nirodha means is that we've gone to some extreme. We either go this direction or we go that direction, when in fact where we are already is probably the sweet spot.
Yeah. You can have a career and still you can have a career and not be chasing it. You know, you can be satisfied. You know. And
yeah, you can tinker and play with things and enjoy doing it. You can tinker and play with code. You can tinker and play with the piano, right? This is what I'm talking about, is that we don't have to keep learning new things and new things and new things. I mean, how many violin concertos have there ever been written already? It's a limited number, and yet people still wanting to write more of them. And there are musicians who are wanting more and more and more, always something new. Gosh, doesn't the human race already have enough music to be entertained?
Yeah, but I suppose not everyone sees music as entertainment. They see it as, you know, like a kind of social necessity, or a religious kind of experience for atheists kind of thing. You know what I mean? Kind of like a kind of place where people can come together and just experience something new, or not new, but like, you know, wholesome, or something that makes everyone feel the same way for a moment.
Well, yes. And here's the actual question is that, okay, what does it take to get in the state that people want to be in? When the music is playing, not everybody is going to enjoy that piece of music. So it's not the piece of music itself that's the joy.
Yeah.
It's the experience that the person has when they're listening to that music. And they could have that experience without the music. That this is where the real teaching of the
Yeah.
Buddha comes into, is that you don't need a particular feel-good piece of music in order to feel good, that you can go after the feel-good without the music.
Mm. Yes, true. But the music can. Some songs
Well, for
can
those
immediately
people,
give you a taste.
for those people who are untrained,
Yeah.
unskilled, they need or want that. The
Yeah.
example would be, this is kind of a funny one. The guy wants a girlfriend, he can't get one, so he says, oh, if I had a chick magnet, if I had an expensive car, then I could get the girl. Well, guess what? The girls don't come automatically with the chick magnet. And so now he's got the car that has payments, it's got scratches, needs to be cleaned. He's only partially satisfied with it. That in fact, the first time it may go zoom really fast and he likes that, but the second and the third time he does it, he just says, oh, I want it to go faster than it did before.
Mm.
Oh, there's something wrong with it now. It doesn't go as fast as it used to. These are the kind of thoughts that we have because we're looking for the car itself to give us the experience. And what the guy winds up with, he goes and buys a new car in order to get the chick. What he winds up with is a wife who doesn't like his car. And so he wasted his time. And not only that, but now he has to put up with a wife who doesn't like what he likes.
Right. Okay.
And what he was looking for in the first place was to feel good. And he didn't need either the car nor the girl to feel good, but he didn't know that because in our society we have been trained about how to prepare for the first date, how to make a good impression, and all of that so that we can get something from somebody else or get it from music. The question is, can you actually then learn to generate the feelings that you want without all the paraphernalia? This is the real practice of the Buddha, to come to that sweet spot, that middle position of, I don't need that extreme car, I don't need that extreme trophy wife, I don't need any of that kind of stuff. What I really need is to stop wanting things and stop trying to figure out how to get what I want so that I'll feel good.
Okay. Okay. So what if the word then is not, let's say I want to listen to a piece of music that makes me feel positive and is a wholesome piece of music. Um, maybe I play with it instead of like I want to play it instead of I want to kind of hear that and get that feeling. So I mean maybe we can do these things, but
And you, if you're
play
listening
with
to
them.
that piece of music, in fact, you've already decided there's a particular piece of music. We can name something, or we can do it just as a general example. You've
Yeah.
heard a particular piece of music and you liked it very much when you heard it, and
Mm.
you felt good when you listened to it. So, next time we play that piece of music because we remember how good we feel, and
Mm.
so, or how much good we felt, and then we try to reproduce that good feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
But in fact, you can cut the music off after you get started in that good feeling, or the other possibility is that you don't have to play that piece of music. You've already heard it one time. You can remember it. You can play it inside your own head
Yeah. I guess all these
if
questions
you've
are
got the
also,
skills to do that. Most people don't
yeah.
ever develop those kind of skills of being able to listen to something and then to repeat it. That's in
Yeah.
fact the entire skill of a musician.
Yeah. All these questions are coming from the kind of perspective as like of a composer or someone like writing music. So I'm always thinking about that when I'm talking with you about like the Dharma, because I'm always thinking like, is what I'm doing wholesome? Like, because
Well, that's not music, that's worry. And
yeah,
worry music is not necessarily beautiful music. I tell you what, if you want to be a composer, then what you should be doing is enjoying composing music and just write it down what you made up. Start singing to yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
But
that's in
it's
fact that they studied Beethoven, and that's what Beethoven would do. That he would go off on long walks. In fact, that's one symphony that's very important like that is the sixth one, the Pastoral. That he went just walked in the woods,
mm.
and the next thing you know, he's just singing a little song, da 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 da. You know,
But it's okay.
that's the composition
It's
is
okay that
singing.
I want to write music. Um, that's that can be a wholesome thing.
Okay, let's pursue that. You want to write music. Why? Do you want to write music because you enjoy writing music, or do you want to write music so that you can hand it in to the teacher or hand it to a symphony orchestra and let them do it? Where is your enjoyment? Is the enjoyment in writing the music, or your enjoyment is making other people happy because they're listening to it?
Uh, it's a bit of both. There is a bit of me. I would like to. Um, I have an idea or a thought that it would be good to make music that produces a feeling of peace, but in
All
kind of
right.
contemporary
So
ways.
when you're at
But I
peace,
also
you
enjoy it
can
though.
sing to yourself. That's the whole point I'm trying to get around to you with is that you don't write the music for the results of the music. Once the score is finished, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Why? Because now you're interested in whatever you're doing right now, the next score. So you wrote a score last month. Leave it alone. Go write a new score, enjoying writing music, and pretty soon you'll get really, really good at it. But if you write music and then you want the results of that music, you want people to listen and enjoy
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
then you're
Yeah.
going to be disappointed
Yeah.
because
Okay.
they probably won't
Maybe
like it the way that you want them to like it.
but maybe one day I'll just drop the whole need to write music at all, like the whole enjoyment of it. Maybe.
Right. That's what I'm getting at is that what can you do that's really easy to do? Like, for instance, just sitting and doing nothing is really enjoyable.
Damn. Yeah, I'm not there yet. I'm just not there yet.
All right. Can you get to the point then
Not
in
yet.
writing music itself, just writing the music, or actually, here's a way of looking at it singing a new song to yourself should be enjoyable, and the writing it down is drudgery. And in fact, there's an old movie about a young woman that I guess Beethoven hired. He chose her, but somebody else paid her salary. But her job was to record, to score what he would sing to her.
Hmm.
That's an enjoyable way of writing a book is to have a scribe come in or maybe just a tape recorder and just talk yourself through the book. That's what you enjoy doing. Let somebody else take the recording, put it maybe a machine now, and put it into the book form. Deal with the publishers, get it published. No author really enjoys doing that. The publication of a book is not the enjoyable part of an author's job.
Hmm.
The
Okay.
question is, do
Yeah.
you enjoy writing? Do you enjoy writing the music? And a better question with that, do you have fun making up music?
Yeah. Okay, enjoyment. I just had a thought with enjoyment. There's enjoyment is maybe, I don't know if that's the perfect word, but like that's kind of the overarching pursuit. That is a wholesome pursuit. But it's not just that in life, is there? There's other things like there are other things like duty. Because I'm thinking like sometimes when you say enjoyment, I think like, well, it isn't, and I know it isn't, but I sometimes equate the word enjoyment with hedonism, and then it's like, well, you know, what is the difference between? Well, I kind of know the answer to this question, but that's just a thought. Hedonism
All
versus
right.
enjoyment.
Well, hedonism, let us give it a perspective. Hedonism is not the actual enjoyment. Hedonism is the pursuit of enjoyment.
Ah, true.
Okay. That
Yeah,
in fact, in the American Declaration of Independence, there's a really interesting phrase:
yeah.
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mm.
And there's a much better way. In fact, the Buddha would phrase that differently: life, liberty, and the happiness of pursuit.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point. Can you make your pursuit happy rather than pursuing happiness? In other words, once you get what you want, then you'll be happy, rather than just being happy while you're out making music, while you're out
Mm.
writing scores. Can you be happy with what you're doing rather than trying to get your happiness from what you've already done?
Yeah. Yeah. That is so funny. Happiness of pursuit. You just flip it around. It's
Yeah,
like already
and and
there.
and that's exactly what we're talking about here. This is why this is so profound, is because we set things right. The whole society is upside down. We're
Yeah.
actually out there with the pursuit of happiness instead of dealing with the happiness of whatever we're pursuing. Do you enjoy it?
Mm. Yeah. The only times I don't enjoy things are when well, actually, I can't even answer that question. It's too complicated. But I get like, um, well, I get basically upset at myself for wasting time, and it's usually like when I've just like watched a film
All right.
or
That's
YouTube or
that's
something.
an interesting thing. What do people do with their time? Some people make time. Oh, I want you to watch that video. Oh, I'll have to make time. I just had a student say, "Oh, I'm going to the retreat in order to kill time." Now I hear you talking about wasting time.
Yeah.
All right. Guess what? It's quite possible for someone to waste their whole time, all of it, from childhood into teenage, into adulthood, all the way into old age. They can just waste all of their time. And they still will either be happy or unhappy. Here's an example of that. In the old days, before I became a monk, I was actually quite into coding. The kind of coding that I did was writing drivers and operating systems, not applications. Now I'm into working on the website, writing code for that. But the important thing is am I in the mood for it? Do I enjoy doing it? But I'll tell you something. This is the point. All of that code that I wrote for those years is now Nobody's using it. Not one line of code that I wrote from the, let us say, from 1967 through 1980, not one line of that code is still being used. Was I wasting my time or what?
No. But you'd say yes?
I would say, yeah, I've wasted my whole life, and I think that that's quite marvelous. It's okay to waste time, which is better
Yeah.
than killing it.
Yes, but you can spend your time unwisely.
Ah, okay. So now you just use the word spend. Before we kill time, okay. Now you're talking about wasting time. Wasting means that you're that it's precious.
Yeah.
Killing time means that you hate it.
It is precious.
Well, being alive is precious.
Yeah, being alive is precious, not time.
And if you're enjoying being alive, many people will call that wasting your time because they're not getting any value out of it.
Yeah. Okay.
If you go to a movie and enjoy the movie, is that wasting your time? Or maybe it's a waste of time when you're not enjoying it. So maybe when you talk about wasting time, are you talking about being productive? Or are you going to talk about enjoyment?
Both.
All right. So why don't we start spending our time enjoying what we're doing and not worry about whether we're productive or not? Because if you're enjoying what you're doing, it will be better than if you're doing something because you don't want to waste time that you're doing under pressure.
Mm.
That in fact, this is something that that the old musicians that we have studied, some of them were actually quite miserable. And some of them really enjoyed what they were doing. Beethoven became frustrated because he was stone deaf at the end of it, I hear, because of syphilis. But he still continued to make music even when he was stone cold deaf. Because he could hear it in his head.
So he enjoyed it.
According to some of the movies and some of the stuff that I've heard, there was a time in his life when he really enjoyed.
Yeah, but he was also
really
quite a miserable person and quite.
Yeah, there's also
destructive.
stories about him being pretty miserable, but those normally the older, the let us say the later stories, because he really hated going deaf. He even cursed God in the sense of, why, God, would you give me such a talent of writing the music and then make me deaf so I can't even hear it?
Yeah.
But in his early life, he really enjoyed it. And he continued to do that. So here's the question. Was he wasting his time when he enjoyed the music?
No.
All right. Are you wasting your time when you're enjoying music? You're not productive. You're not writing anything. Wasting time generally has to do with being unproductive. And most people want to be productive. I'm willing to admit that most of the work that I've ever done in my life was wasted.
But do you mean that in a sense that you wasted that time, but this time you're not wasting? Would you say you're wasting this time?
Well, we're talking about the word wasting,
yeah,
and now you're talking about the attitude. Okay? Yeah. And the attitude is that time is not wasted. I've got this present moment. I've got the time. Here's the time. This is it.
Oh, yeah. So it's all
This is all the time there is happening right now while we're having this conversation.
Yeah, all time past and future. I mean, or past. Let's just say past. All past is wasted. Would you say that?
Say again?
Would you say that all of the past is wasted?
Yeah, all of the part.
Yeah.
Look at Rome. Rome was a huge civilization. What a waste. It fell apart.
Yeah.
The entire Roman Empire is gone.
Okay, yeah.
Christianity, wow, what a waste. Islam, even a bigger waste.
So what's the opposite of a waste? What's the opposite of a waste?
Yeah.
Well, what's the opposite of a waste?
Why would Maserati, the original guy plus the factory, why would they build Maserati automobiles and sell them for a high price? Almost all of them get in a wreck or get broken or get in the junkyard. What a waste. I mean, 99% of all the automobiles over 2 years old are gone.
Yeah. And teaching, that's a waste as well.
Yeah, that's a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, teaching. I mean, the students don't listen. What a waste.
Okay. And when they do listen, it's a waste. Yeah.
Pardon?
And when they do listen, it's also a waste. Well, when it has been when it's past.
Well, then when I say it the next time, then they don't need to hear it because they already knew it.
Yeah.
But they ask questions about it anyway.
Okay. So
it's okay. What I'm really getting around to is
Yeah.
that the word waste, like wasting time, is a concept.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a judgment. Yeah.
It's just a concept. Like spending time is a better use of the word. How are you going to spend this moment? Because you're not spending time, you're just here now.
Yeah.
So time cannot be killed. Time cannot be wasted. Time cannot be made.
Yeah, I heard you say that time is like a worse than distance. You know, I think you were saying that like time isn't real, but what is real that can be measured as distance.
Yes.
So I don't really understand that.
All right. We can go all the way into the mathematics of the speed of light. But the speed of light is actually measured in distance. Like, for instance, going to town takes time because you're going a distance. So that's the measurement of time. The measurement of time is like, what are you doing in that time?
Like 5 miles per hour kind of thing. That's time.
Mm-hmm. Right. But that's not time, that's distance.
Okay. But distance is a better thing to measure life with than time.
Mm-hmm. Well,
right?
Maybe the thing to do is to stop the measuring. That measuring things like that is often a waste of time.
Okay.
That's why, in fact, Einstein, I'm just, going off on Einstein and the theory of relativity, they call it space-time. Okay, so the space has distance to it. And to go from here to there takes an amount of time depending upon the velocity.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So
yeah. I no, I don't really have anything to say, but I kind of get it. Yeah. I mean, I think what you said about, stop measuring, that's probably more important than what I was thinking of with distance. because I think, yeah, whether you're measuring distance or time is still in a concept, and you're not in the present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going somewhere is not being here now.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's the same thing as the waste of time, because basically what you would say, really, the waste of time is not getting what you want. What if you don't want anything? Are you wasting time? That's what other people would say. You see, this actually, I can see how it happened, is that we humans want to gain value from other people so that we don't have to do it. So the boss is going to say to the employees, stop wasting time, because I want you to write that code so I can get the benefit of being the boss of the organization that produced the code.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's all about production.
It's all about production. And the answer is that we don't need to produce. I mean, it was possible way back when, before we had cell phones or automobiles or electricity, in the old days. Let us go all the way back to the time of the Buddha, or all the way back to Socrates, that time, right? And there were people who were productive, and that there were a few people who just enjoyed their lives, just enjoyed themselves. And all of those people who were productive and produced something, what have they got? The Acropolis is in ruin. The Colosseum is a disaster now. It's a ruin.
Yeah. But if they enjoyed it, then.
If they enjoyed it, that's the whole point was. And most people who built the Colosseum were not enjoying doing it. They were doing what they were told to do, perhaps out of fear of retribution, lose their job, lose their life, right? So most of production is done out of fear.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
the
I have
question is,
that
can you
sense.
change that? What's your motivation? What motivates you for stuff?
But even if I worked at the Colosseum and I had to do it, I could still enjoy it.
You could.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not about what you're doing ever. It's not about whether I'm writing music.
It's whether you're enjoying what you're doing. And this is why I keep pointing out is start singing songs to yourself. Start making up music in your head because you enjoy doing that.
But it's not just joy, because I mean, like, you take a DJ who's, like, doing coke and stuff to, like,
The very best ones, though, are enjoying it. But the guys who are getting their enjoyment out of coke probably are not the best DJs.
no. But what I was going to say is, like, they are enjoying it, but that's because they're like, they have to be on, like, coke or something to stay up all night or something like that. And then the next day they're, like, miserable or something like that. But they're really enjoying it. But so there's a difference between this enjoyment, which is, like, natural, and then, a stimulated enjoyment. I mean, could you, like, what would you say is, like, the big difference between, like, a synthetic enjoyment, or, like, this is like hedonism again, I guess. Like, you know, like, does people
I
on.
don't think that I've got an answer to your question, other than I'm inviting you to start making that investigation for yourself.
Yeah, okay. There is a
That's
difference.
what really needs to be done, is start investigating so that you can find your enjoyment in whatever you're doing. There is a passage in the Bible I like about this. Whatever thy hand findeth to do, do with all thy strength, all thy might, and all thy mind. All right? In other words, become absorbed in what you're doing. That's the enjoyment of it.
If I end up in like a kind of drug fueled binge or like some party, which won't happen, but like hypothetically, I just do that Bible verse.
Well,
And
yes.
and
Or you can just
what's
remember that
what
point about the pursuit of happiness rather than the happiness of pursuit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
whatever your hand findeth to do is the pursuit. And the question is, can you enjoy doing it?
So what is unwholesome?
Not enjoying what you're doing is unwholesome.
Yeah, but what is unwholesome will reveal itself, when
Pardon?
you're present. What's unwholesome will reveal itself to be unwholesome when you are present.
If you're watching, it may not reveal itself. It may need to be investigated.
If you are investigating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the whole teaching of the Buddha
Okay.
is remember to investigate.
But naturally, it's likely that something like taking loads of drugs will reveal itself because of the body telling you. So I think often the body maybe tells us what's
Absolutely. And
right.
most people are not listening to their body until it really starts screaming at them.
Yeah. So the body does speak. It speaks in like pain or not pain, but sensation.
Sensation.
Yeah. And pain is just
Much
like,
of life then would be the pursuit of sensations. For instance, we eat when we're hungry. We go to the toilet when we feel one way or the other, a burning sensation. All right. That almost all of that life is driven by the sensations of the body. The question is, are you really attuned to your body so that you can deal with things naturally, as opposed to being off in our head, which is where most people are? They're not thinking about how the body feels. And so they'll get tired and not recognizing that they've gotten tired.
Yeah. Sometimes I do feel like being present requires me to be more in my head because of, like, a lot of non-duality stuff, I think, that I've read at least or been exposed to, like listened to, um, speaks about the head and the eyes and like your vision. Like there's a book called The Headless Way by Douglas Harding, which is about he's just some guy from like the 30s who was climbing Mount Everest and then he had a kind of um insight or something that he thought was some kind of like, I don't know, revelation or enlightenment. But it was basically about he realized that he didn't have a head and that it was all just he was his circle of vision. So sometimes I try and go into that, but I end up just being in my head instead because I'm thinking about like this circle of awareness. You know what I mean? Because when you think of awareness, you think of like your brain. You think of like behind your head. You're
I
looking
would go so
out.
far as to say that's what ordinary people do. And actually being in touch with the reality is not being in the head, but basically it's being in our sensory input. Are you aware of your butt on the chair? Are you aware of the dog beside you? Are you aware of the feet on the floor? Are you aware of the light? Are you aware of the wind? Are you aware of all the body's input? Are you aware, for instance, of that turtleneck sweater? So reality actually is coming in through our senses. And spending our time in our senses is actually quite enjoyable. But thinking things through
Yeah. I'm
is
thinking.
actually
I was talking then
doubtful. We're
about
not
like.
enjoying ourselves when we're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about the idea that your awareness is kind of coming from in your head or something like that, or the idea that, well, yeah. I mean, what do you think about that?
I would say
Awareness itself.
that's a dead waste of time.
Yeah. I mean, you
Because
know
you're
all about this.
thinking of, yes, I know, you're thinking about reality as opposed to experiencing reality.
Well, that's not what they say you're supposed to do in these non-duality circles. I mean, they say you're just supposed to, be aware of awareness. But often, like, I guess awareness feels like it's coming from your head. And like
Okay.
I think, no, behind your head is more probably
Well, the
what they're saying.
Buddha is not into any of that kind of stuff. That what he's talking about is wise awareness, a worthwhile awareness. What is worthy of your what awareness?
Have you heard
And
of
he
these guys
basically
like,
said,
sorry,
pardon,
sorry,
go ahead.
sorry to interject, but do you know these people like Rupert Spira? Have you heard of these people? No, okay. I think they're really, really popular, but I think they're talking about the stuff that I'm talking about. And I think that people think that that's what Buddhism is. Like, but I think what you're saying sounds more way simpler and like more physical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. That's what I want to say.
Is much more real. They're actually, what you could say is that they're writing a book of concepts and more concepts and more concepts. That these are thought processes. And really, what the Buddha teaches is to be aware of your satisfaction and your dissatisfaction so that you can make a change. That
Yeah.
what's worth noting is this dukkha? What's the cause of this? What can I do to get out of my state of dissatisfaction? So, this is what's worthy of your attention.
Yeah.
You have either wise attention, which
Yeah.
is all of those philosophy books and all of those discussions about reality, and that's all concepts. That's actually one of the problems with me teaching here on the internet is I can only teach through concepts. And yet, I'm inviting you to come out of a conceptualized world, including awareness of awareness is not of value. What we need to be aware of is our state of satisfaction, our state of mind, our feelings, with the intention of improving it. To come out of our unwholesome thoughts and start having wholesome thoughts, one after another, one wholesome thought after another. Like, wow, this is a waste of time. Isn't that marvelous?
Yeah.
Waste your time wisely, enjoying your time wisely. If you're making stuff up, enjoy making it up.
Yeah.
Rather than
Okay.
putting yourself under pressure, oh, I've got to produce.
It's very simple. It's almost like psychology in a way.
Well, it's better than psychology because psychology doesn't generally work.
Well,
The
not
only thing
psychology,
that
but
works about psychology is the salaries that the psychologist makes.
it's like the best kind of psychology that I come across. There's some psychology that feels like this. But I think the difference between what you're saying and other stuff I've heard is that this is like, so easy, and other stuff is really like counterintuitive and like kind of confrontational sometimes, because people talk a lot about, not self, and and that's a lot of what they talk about, and awareness of awareness, and always focusing on that. And it's
And they
like
can go round in circles on that
but
in
it
the sense
produces
of,
that
go ahead.
feeling of like that. It produces more suffering.
Yes, that's the whole point that I'm making.
Yeah, but it produces even more suffering than if you hadn't done it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole feeling of, it's like, have you heard of derealization?
Like what?
Derealization or depersonalization.
I
No,
don't know
it's
what.
like, it might be a new thing because I don't know, but it's where you feel like you're in a game or something. Or you feel like you're in a movie and you feel like you're not real and nothing's real. But I think people can get that from psychedelics and stuff. But I think people can also get that from like doing this non-duality stuff too much and not being trained in it at all. Do you know what I mean? Because I mean, it's like
Well, the
when you're being
problem
aware,
is that the ones who were training them are the ones who were stuck in it too.
Hmm.
All right. And so people wind up not enjoying themselves. And if you were enjoying yourself, you're probably not all of that productive in the sense of like, oh, Karl Marx and Nietzsche, right? I would say that their entire lives were a dead waste of time because of what Lenin got a hold of it, and then Stalin got a hold of it and destroyed all the good parts that Marx and Nietzsche were doing.
Yeah.
And to now, um, uh, communism is a dirty word.
Mm. Yeah.
To where, in fact, living happily, living in a commune, in a community, is marvelous.
Yeah.
That living in society is marvelous, and yet in the West now, socialism is a dirty word.
Yeah. It's not so bad here in London. I think there are more people, compared to maybe where you're from, South Carolina or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, so all of that stuff is conceptualization that probably Marx would have been better off if he'd have just been out walking in the woods like Beethoven instead of struggling over writing books.
But do you think if he wrote the books in a different way, because something like politics is something where you have to communicate to the masses, so it's important to write books, maybe different to the Dhamma.
Actually, it's not important to communicate with the masses. The masses are not going to learn anything anyway. Most of them are stupid. They're not going to listen. I mean, how many people actually listen to Karl Marx? I mean, look at the Bolshevik Revolution and all of those dozens of millions of people, 50, 60, 70, 80 million people were killed. They were all stupid. They didn't know anything about Karl Marx, but they were put to death because somebody really grabbed hold of that.
Hmm. When you say stupid, do you mean like ignorant?
Well, no, actually, ignorant is different than stupid. And there's two kinds of ignorance. Let's straighten that out, okay?
Yeah.
There is wise ignorance and there is stupid ignorance. And stupid ignorance can be called delusion, okay? So, in the sense that somebody knows and needs to know and continues to learn because they want to know, is stupid because they're still not happy. And not only that, but a lot of the stuff that they know is actually not true at all. It may have been at one time, and then it's not true any longer, but they'll hold to it as if it were true. In other words, they're in a state of delusion, to where wise ignorance means that you know that you don't know, and that's okay that you don't know it. Here's an example.
Yeah.
It's late at night, you're in bed asleep, you wake up, you got to go to the toilet. And so you don't turn the lights off on because you know your way to the toilet. And on the way into the toilet, you stub your toe and it really hurts. Now, did you stub your toe out of ignorance or did you stub your toe out of delusion? Because everybody will go around saying you stub your toe, that's stupid. It's stupid to stub your toe on the way to the bathroom. But the point is that we thought we knew our way to the bathroom safely. That's the delusion. We thought we knew our way to the bathroom. But wise ignorance would be, oh, I do not know the way to the bathroom. Let me turn on the lights so that I can see. Okay, and so you've got a whole massive population that's going from one toe stabbing to another toe stabbing. And they're constantly unhappy, they're constantly in pain, and they're constantly not watching where they're going and not watching their thoughts and seeing what's going on because they think they know what's good for them. They think they know what's right. An example of that would be in England, you have political parties just like in the United States, and anybody that is in a political party is a stupid person because they think that they're going to join a party that believes what they already believe.
Yeah, I mean, stupid's a harsh word, but I guess it's kind of true.
I wanted to make it a harsh word. I want to let people recognize that, yeah, we do stupid things all the time. Wise things would be, I'm ignorant and I know that I'm ignorant, and I can do something about it.
Yeah.
This is what the practice of Anapanasati really is based upon.
But most people who are stupid aren't like completely stupid all the time, right? I mean, there are things that aren't stupid about people as well.
Well, actually, if they're unhappy, if they're pursuing happiness, that's stupid. Being happy while they're pursuing, that's wise.
It's true. But it doesn't mean that we don't like them, right? It doesn't mean that like we like are better than them or something. Or maybe we are.
Let's put it this way. About 90 to 95% of all of humanity that's alive today, and regardless of their age, I would put in that classification of being stupid. Now let's look at it in the other sense of what are the other possibilities other than being stupid would be helpless. Another one would be criminal. And a fourth category would be wise. And now we've got Eric Burns' OK Corral. Do you know about the OK Corral? Okay. It has to do with our relationship to ourselves and our relationship to the world. And that the wise box is I'm okay, you're okay. Everything is okay. I'm okay and you're okay. Then you have the qualification of I'm okay and you're not okay. That puts you in a position of power and dominance. That's where we come up with criminals. Criminals have the idea that I'm okay, but you're not okay. Therefore, it's okay to abuse you. And most medical doctors are in that state. Now, the people who go to the doctor are often in the state of I'm not okay, but you're okay. They go to the doctor. They're helpless. And so they see themselves as not okay, but the world is okay. But most of the people, most of the time, are in that box of I'm not okay and the world is not okay. And if I could fix the world and make it okay, then I'll be okay. But I can't be okay until I fix the world.
And that's stupid. Is that
and
stupid?
That's stupid.
Okay.
The wise is I can fix my own mind and then I can see the world because I am okay. I can see the world is okay.
Would you say that definition of stupid is a better definition than any definition based on like IQ? or anything
No,
like
we're
that?
not talking about IQ.
Yeah,
It's quite possible that people have a very, very high Q, a very high Q
yeah,
score on an IQ test,
yeah,
and they're still stupid because
yeah,
they're
right.
unhappy.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, so yeah, because like the word stupid is a bit like it's a good word, but it kind of like reminds me of like people who are like narcissists or something, you know, like all these stupid people. But I mean, well, they're stupid as well. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Narcissism is a big stupidity
Yeah, yeah,
because, in fact, it's a lie. They're deluding themselves into thinking I'm okay, where, in fact, deep down inside, the reality is that they feel not okay.
that's funny. Oh, wow, yeah. It does all come down. Maybe is that quite a deep binary that I'm not okay and you're okay? Does it often come down to that, like deep down in people?
Right. In fact, we are born that way. Our DNA is set up that way. But when we're born, every tender infant, newborn, is helpless. Not one person has ever been born doing, let us say, high level mathematics like formula for gravity. Not even Newton's formula for gravity, never mind Einstein's.
Hmm.
Ba- Basic babies can't feed themselves, they can't change their diaper, they can't even move their hands. You put a mobile in front of a tender infant and they'll look at it and they'll do their hands this way, but they can't grasp hold of that thing. So we are all born that way, okay? Now, as we age, we have adults around us to take care of us. We need their care. If we don't get their care, then we'll really be in bad shape. We'll either be dead or we'll have what is called an abandonment issue, where we really get needy. And so our parents tell us what to do. They tell us to go to school, to clean our clothes, to take a bath. All of that kind of stuff puts us again in the victim's role of having to do what we're told to do. We grow up continuing to do what we're told to do, hoping that someday we'll be happy. In other words, we're out there in the pursuit of happiness, which is stupid. And most
Okay.
people are stupid
Yes.
because whatever they're doing, they feel victimized by it. Just like one of the calls that we had before. Remember when Agnes was on the call and you were really victimized by some student assignment that you had to do?
Yeah, still being
And
done.
remember, I kept telling you what most of what we've been talking about today is that don't worry about the assignment and your victimization from the teacher, but enjoy writing the music. Stop being the victim, become the champion. Enjoy what you're doing.
Hmm. Yes.
Come
Okay.
out of your dukkha, come out of your dissatisfaction,
Yes. Okay.
and become satisfied. That's the wise way. And when people do come out of their dissatisfaction and
Hmm.
live a life of satisfaction, then they're satisfied not only with themselves, but they're satisfied with the way the world is.
Would you say that all dukkha is stupidity?
How about that?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Another way of looking at it is that when we live a life in reality, when we're very much attuned with what's real, especially in the moment, the environment that we're in, the mind state that we're in, etc., like that, if it's real, then it's very little dukkha. That you could say
Mm.
then that the further away we are from reality, the more likely that we're going to find dukkha. Also, we could say that when we're in the middle way, we're in the middle path, just taking it easy in the balance, like a teeter totter. You know a teeter totter? When you go to the extreme of the teeter totter, you're up and down and up and down and up and down. But if you're sitting in the middle of the teeter totter, everything is easy.
Yeah. Okay. I
And
think,
we get out of balance when we start thinking about things that we don't like. We actually create the dukkha.
yeah. I was about to ask a question that, and then I realized like you're just making up stuff. You're making
Uh-huh.
up stuff.
Right. So let's go back then to the original point that we started with, in the sense of being aware that I'm in doubt. I don't know how to practice meditation. The answer to that is stop being in doubt and just enjoy yourself for the moment. Well, I'm glad I don't have to figure out meditation right now. I can just relax.
Yeah, so you're playing with yourself a little bit there.
Yeah, we can begin to stop playing with ourselves and just relax. The playing with ourselves is actually trying to get it right.
Is it? I thought that playing with yourself would be good.
Well, it depends upon your attitude. I would say, in fact, we can use the word playfulness as opposed to messing with ourselves. That I was hearing you use the word play in the sense of messing with ourselves. We're trying to get it right. We're in doubt. We got to
Oh no,
figure it
yeah.
out.
I mean more playful. So like when we're saying, oh, we don't have to figure out that now, that's kind of being playful with yourself.
Yeah, just be playful. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I don't have to figure it out. I'm still okay.
It's slightly cheeky. It's a slightly kind of
Well,
nonchalant
not
thing to
just
say.
cheeky. It's the champion. Become the champion. Maybe the
Yeah.
champion is cheeky.
Yeah.
Become your own champion.
Okay.
Become the champion of the
Yeah.
music that you're writing rather than the victim of it.
I do foresee like a possibility of me kind of becoming this champion and then becoming a criminal because I think I'm okay and then other people aren't okay. I
No,
don't mean that I'm gonna
they're
start.
okay. As stupid as they are, they're okay. I don't need them.
Okay. But like I do feel sometimes like I should help people. Is that
Well,
not compassion?
it could be. There's other ways of talking about it. And that one of the ways of talking about it that Bhikkhu Buddhadasa talks about, and I'm firmly into that, and that is that I have a duty to the Dhamma.
Yeah,
And
I've
I gain
noticed
great benefit because I'm out here talking to the people about Dhamma, spreading the Dhamma,
it.
getting a great deal of pleasure out of that.
Yeah.
That's my duty. That in fact I'm extremely grateful to Bhikkhu Buddhadasa and Achan Po for what they've given me, but I'll never be able to pay them back. Bhikkhu Buddhadasa has been dead for 30 years. Achan Po is 93. He don't need nothing. But I'm paying it forward. I'm not paying it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm paying off an
Yeah.
old debt. It's not
Yeah.
really a debt, but
Yeah.
it's out of my gratitude and generous heart.
And
And I'm enjoying it. If
you
I
don't have
didn't enjoy
to,
teaching the Dhamma, then I'd stop doing it.
yeah. And let's say I don't have to be talking about the Dharma with my friends in order to be
You can
paying
live the
it forward.
Dhamma instead. Just be happy.
Yeah. And that's still paying it forward.
That's paying it forward just to be happy with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm
That
not
their
trying to
misery is
like,
not your fault. I mean, your misery is not their fault.
so do you see yourself as helping me or like helping your students? Or do you see it differently?
Well, let me ask you that in reverse then. Why did you call?
Why did I call? I don't know. I like talking to you and it's helpful.
Yeah, it's helpful. Exactly.
Okay.
But in fact, I'm teaching you to stop being helpless. So there will come a time when what I'm saying is not helpful because you're already okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so okay. But you so you can help someone who is still okay. you're just, how does that work? Because the criminal,
Well,
right?
we can enjoy each other. There's a lot of calls that I have with students that are not recorded at all because we're just chewing the fat, just having fun.
Yeah, okay. So, but the duty to the Dharma is different than a doctor.
Say again?
The duty to the Dharma is different than the doctor, like their Hippocratic oath or like their mindset is different than you.
Most doctors are there as doctors to help themselves to get it right. They're afraid to mess up.
Okay, but in
It's
the way
not
that,
okay to let somebody be sick. They got to help them. They'd feel bad if people feel bad. But in fact, it's okay that people feel bad. I mean, look at all the past generations of all those miserable people. And look how many people are going to be miserable the rest of their lives. They're all stupid, and I can't help them all. I don't even want to try.
yeah, but there is compassion though, with, because the duty to the Dharma, that's like you are helping me like suffer less.
Yeah. If you
So
listen.
yeah. So like
I notice right now that you're in a great deal of confusion about it.
yeah, because the criminal, I mean, I'm struggling with the difference between you and a doctor. Like, because, well, you know, the definition of the criminal is like they are okay, but their patients aren't okay. But you're different because it's like you're okay. You think you you know that I'm going to be okay, but you're paying what you've learned forward, which is the duty of the Dhamma, and which is also, is that, and that's fueled by compassion as well. But then I would also say that
That would be the best kind of compassion, because generally when someone goes to the doctor and feels bad, the doctor feels bad too.
okay,
That very few times does the doctors enjoy finding out what's wrong with someone, but they want to fix it. They're not satisfied and happy that the person is sick. This is what we call burnout. And in fact, a whole lot of nurses quit their jobs during COVID.
yeah,
Because people were dying left, right, and center, and they couldn't stop it. That if I had a job at a hospital, the job that I would want to have would be as dressed up as the Santa Claus, going to the various wards to cheer people up.
okay,
Not fix their illness, but to fix their mind state.
okay, all right, okay. But there is still a view of that person as. Do you see people as in need of cheering up? Do you feel like you need to do that?
No, but I certainly enjoy cheering people up.
Interesting.
That if I wasn't enjoying cheering people up, if I got no value out of it, then in fact that's what happens with a lot of comedians, is they wind up, they really enjoy people enjoying their patter, but then they'll get really pissed off if somebody is pissed off at them. I've seen careers ruined on stage because of the heckling that people got.
Yeah, yeah. I have seen some videos like that. Okay, all right. I think I get it. I mean, it's quite a subtle distinction then.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's subtle and obscure until you really understand it. And then you say, my, what a marvelous difference it is between struggling to help people when I'm struggling myself to help them, as opposed to just enjoying. And you can do that with the music. You can either struggle with writing the music, or you can enjoy writing it.
Yeah, and you're doing it because
And I'm talking about writing it, and that, in fact, the very best part of that would just be humming a new tune to yourself. Make some music up.
yeah, and you're doing it also because it enriches you, like it's good for you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that is the difference. Okay, because I'm thinking
To
like,
do what you
yeah,
do and enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, why do it?
okay, but there are other factors with what you do other than enjoyment, because it would have to also be wholesome, right?
Okay. But that's part of the enjoyment of knowing
Yeah,
that it has some value for people.
yeah, okay, yeah. There are a lot of, I mean, it is quite, it's in a way it's complex getting down to like the definitions of things, even though they are just definitions. But it does help kind of refine my thoughts, you know.
Well, the question is, why can't you just enjoy what we're talking about? You still make up stuff and are confused and are trying to get it right instead of just enjoying the heck out of having the
Yeah, yeah.
conversation.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. But yeah. It's just like, getting it clear so that I'm less confused.
All right. Well, recognize that you are confused and tell yourself, hey, I don't have to be confused. I'm thinking too much. Let's stop confusing
Okay.
and just enjoy the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never get it straight. You'll never get it right when you're trying to get it right. You need to stop trying to get it right and just say, oh, I'll figure that out. Right now, I'm having fun. That in fact, you're pursuing happiness instead of just um,
Yeah.
happily pursuing. You'll figure it out. Have that confidence. This is a lot of what the practice is gaining the confidence that you've got it. You got it made. Yeah, there's stuff I don't know, and that's okay. I'll do without it. I'm all right already. I got enough knowledge. Wow, do I have enough knowledge? Like, wow, you've got enough notes. You've got 12 of them. Isn't that enough to make music?
Hmm. Yeah, I write using a lot of microtones, so I'm using at least 24 sometimes.
Well, we used to have those too. We called them a glissando.
Yeah. It's hard to get that on piano. But
Well, that's why people let pianos get out of tune.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, okay. Well,
Everything's going to be all right. Everything's fine. Gain that winner's attitude that you've got this wired. You got enough already.
and stay vigilant.
I wouldn't call that what we're doing. Vigilant. Actually, I hear the word vigilante, where they're trying to hurt somebody in order to feel good.
Yeah. But a vigil is like when you're up at night, right? A vigil is like at 2 a.m. when you're awake with a candle.
Looking for something. The word vigil actually means on guard for real danger.
Mm.
It has the connotation of being on guard.
But in a sense, we are on guard because we are investigating.
Yes, but now it's happy, it's joyful.
Okay.
Happily on guard. And the word vigil generally doesn't have that connotation.
Okay. But it's kind of like a happy vigil.
Okay. A happy vigil.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well, let's finish now, and we'll see you later.
Okay, cut.
All right.
Cut. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you for that. That was a good conversation. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.